Hi, my name is Natalie Mast, and I am a volunteer here at George Washington Carver National Monument. And I am just going to be speaking today about the Day of the Dead, which is an extremely important celebration in Hispanic culture. It's second basically only to Christmas and Easter. So those are the main holidays in Hispanic culture, and the Day of the Dead is basically kind of more like a Memorial Day, but also kind of crossed with a few spooky elements that you would see at Halloween. And you would also see things that are very celebratory, colorful, and very cheerful. This is a big, happy celebration. And it seems odd to our culture that we would celebrate death, but that's exactly what happens, and there's reasons for this. So, in Hispanic culture and belief, but the Day of the Dead it's not the Spanish or the Hispanic Halloween. It is actually a separate holiday. And this day is celebrated on November 2nd. It's the day after All Saints' Day, and it's believed that this is when the veil between the land of the living and the land of the dead is at its thinnest. So your loved ones who have passed on, their spirits can come back to visit this one day a year. So there's several things that are extremely important about this. So first is that you set up a mesa de ofrenda, which literally means offering table. And it's either set up in the home or it's set up in the graveyard itself. And there's some things that are extremely important. Some of the things that you'll see on the mesa de ofrenda, of course, are some of the favorite foods and the bread of the dead, the pan de los muertos, that the deceased would have enjoyed in real life. So the things they loved would be on there. You'll also see pictures of the people or other representations that you are trying to remember. So the worst thing that can happen is to be forgotten. So when you're forgotten, then you're no longer in this happy place that's the land of the dead. So this celebrates not only the loved ones' lives, but it also celebrates their death. And the reason that you celebrate that death is because the world is full of evil, it's full of sickness, it's full of pain. And in the land of the dead, which is heaven, there is no sickness, there is no pain, there is no evil. It's the best place ever, it's a happy place. So how can you be sad when someone you love is in such a wonderful place? So this is a celebration of their life, but also of their death, and that they moved out of the suffering and into paradise. So the way we remember them, of course, would have been with photographs. Before the age of photography, or if you were very poor, you probably wouldn't have been able to afford a photograph. And of course, before photography was invented, then you would have another way of remembering. This goes back till farther than photography. So how they would do this is that they would use things like sugar skulls. Now there are, of course, chocolate and sugar skulls that are made for eating. The skeleton is, of course, representation of death. So it will be, it's all around everywhere. But whenever you decorated a sugar skull, you would keep in mind what that person loved in life. So for example, if you were celebrating someone's life who was a devout Christian, you would paint something like a cross on the skulls. Like these are some that people I've known have actually made. And they were made back in 2014. That's how long they've lasted. And this was for her grandmother, who was a devout Christian. This one was also made for a grandmother who loved purple and blue, and also loved gardening and flowers. So you can see the flower theme throughout the whole thing. Also, some things that would be on the Mesa de Ofrenda that were very important would be marigolds. And marigolds were the gateway or the bridge that would guide the souls from the land of the dead back to the land of the living and returning. The reason for this is because of the monarch butterflies. Now, monarch butterflies, their migration coincides about the time with the Day of the Dead, so they arrive at the exact same time. So the monarch butterfly represents the soul of the departed, and they are naturally attracted to marigolds. So the marigolds were said to guide that soul from the land of the living to the land of the dead and back again, so on and so forth. And it only happens one day every year, so it's very important that it's praised at that specific time. So that's basically the history and basic summary of the Day of the Dead, why it's important and why it's a celebration. It's a very happy time and not some time to be sad.